This is Alicia Joseph. She is a great copywriter, and I'll ask her a few questions for you to understand better what is copywriting and simple steps on how to start your journey in copywriting. So the first question is your journey and how did you get into copywriting?
Yeah, so my journey as from a copywriter never really started off as being a copywriter. It started off where I was selling hoodies. They were hoodies and cat designs on hoodies, and I'm very creative, so I've always had that little creative flair to do things. And then obviously that didn't work because, well, lost a lot of money with it. And the profit margins on that is like barely anything. But then I changed and I did an agency, and that's when everything started, going off and a lot better. And over time of doing the agency and actually like learning marketing within the agency, I've grown this like passion for copywriting. And because I've gotten results with it, and it's the thing that's given me the most return, I guess you could say. So after like months of figuring out marketing and how to actually write copy and struggling myself, I figured out how to do it. And so I just developed a love for it. And now I help people with their copywriting, and I help other people learn copywriting. That's it.
Oh, so and these were these stickers of some kind?
Yeah, I actually have it on my laptop here. They were stickers, and they were also like little designs that I put on hoodies as well. Yeah, so that's what I did as
Oh,
well.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that would be great.
Yeah.
So, what's your process for creating a good copy from scratch? Like small steps?
Yeah. Okay. So my process of writing copy in the beginning, I never really had a process of writing copy because I always used to really like struggle, and for a lot of people, many people don't really know where to start with their copy, even if it's like from scratch. And so I guess over time I've developed this sort of like step-by-step structure that I follow every single time that I write copy. So it's a 7-step structure. Let me break down. So let's say we're using like an email, for example. Um, the first part of the structure, the step-by-step structure, is I will write the big idea. So what is the main idea that I am trying to convey in this email? What is the main idea that I'm trying to write about, right? Then the second thing is I figure out who am I writing to? Like who am I writing to? So not just age, not just gender, not just like tone and what do they like. It's more about like problems and pains and the desires of this person. But I try to link that before to the idea. So just so you can see where I'm going with this, I don't start writing until I have all of this. So once I have all of this down, then I'll start writing. The third thing that I do is obviously I write down other things that I kind of have an idea of like what I want to include in the copy itself. So, if you're like a copywriter, you would figure that out. You would have to like there's not always what's the word? There's not always the same elements. You might have different elements in your
Yeah.
email. I might have different elements in mine. And then the fourth thing that I do is I will write down a structure. So I guess imagine it like Lego blocks, right? You've got Lego. So let me grab this. So imagine copy like Lego, right? And so you've got your hook, right? And you've got to put all these all together, right? And so what I do
Yeah.
is I get the structure. So then it will go like, oh, I might have pain first, right? The hook, and then you might have pains, and then you might agitate the pains even more, and then what would you do? You would have a transition, right, into
Yeah.
the solution, and then you'll have like the call to action. I guess hopefully that helps, but I
Yeah.
like to look at it as like building blocks, and then you put them together, and then I'll write this stuff for the building blocks, and then you kind of like glue it together, like making it flow, making it transition all together. And then I kind of just proofread it. And then I use my checklist, my copywriting checklist, to make sure it includes and it kind of like meets criteria of what should be included in the copy. But
Yeah.
I like to look at it like split it up into building blocks, and then from there you can start writing, and that's what I do basically.
Just start, and you'll figure a way. Yeah.
You will. That's it. Just
Okay.
start and you'll figure out.
Yeah. So, how do you research and ensure you understand your client's brand voice? Like, every client is different, every brand is different. How do you go
Yeah.
with their theme?
So I guess okay, so obviously you've got brand voice and you've got the research. Let's start with the brand voice. So when you talk to the client, the actual business, whoever it is, and you look at their content maybe, and you talk to them, you kind of get an idea of how they talk and the kind of tone they want to go for. So I guess you just
Yeah.
have to think like, what are the brand values? What do they stand for? And I guess try and link the tone to the values of the brand. So, for example, I have a client right now. She's a woman. She targets women. Um, Actually, with brand voice, I look at it as if like the audience. So, as I said, she's a woman. She's targeting women. Means they're very emotional, not in a bad way, but they're very emotional. She has to be quite friendly with her tone, very positive, and so you kind of get an idea of where you want to come across just from speaking to the actual client themselves. But research with the actual people rather than, sorry, the people you're targeting, it's more about the audience rather than the actual brand. The brand voice is, I like to look at it as like, it gives that, I guess you could say, personal element that helps the brand stand out by having their own unique voice. But I always think about the audience, right? For example, when I write emails, um, my brand tone, if I was to write for, let's say, an older generation of audience, is very different. Whereas if I'm
Okay.
writing for people like our age, quite young audience, I'll write very like informal and stuff. But in terms of research for audience, would you like me to go over that?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay, so it's a whole big process that's like a never-ending process. You're always going to go through like audience research. You're always going to go through that every time you write copy, because I've had an experience with a client once where I wrote them copy and it didn't go well as expected, right? And it was because I didn't do enough research on the audience, but I thought I had done enough. And so after that, I realized that I needed to do more, but you never really know until you put stuff out there, like your copy. And so you really get research by putting your copy out there because you'll see the people you're attracting with it. You also need to I look at other people who are in the market. So, for example, uh, a drop shipping ad, or wait, no, actually, not a drop shipping ad. That's one of my clients. I'm trying to use an example. Let's say my client, right? She helps women create an online income with drop shipping, right?
Yeah.
Who is her audience she's targeting? She's targeting women who are like 30 to like 60. So you would think about age. You would also think about yeah, so age, gender, because depending on the gender, they're more emotional or they're more logical. Because women are tend to be more emotional than men, which is kind of like a psychology thing, anyways. You have to think about the age as well, because depending on the age, you're going to write very differently. You might write more simpler depending on the audience. Um, but you'll know that by age. And then obviously it's researching the problems and pains. These are the most important things that you need to know is problems and pains, desires, things they've tried before that you can pull on in your marketing. There's so much stuff, but just think about the person that they are targeting and just think, what are their pains? What are their problems? What age are they? What gender are they? What have they tried before? What do they like? What have they heard before and stuff like that in claims? And it's just a never ending process, really. But yeah.
Yeah, you should know your audience and know their stuff. Yeah, and that's a really
Yeah.
good point. So,
Yeah.
how do you handle tight deadlines, and how do you be in
Yeah.
control under high stress? How do you do that?
So for me, I haven't. Oh well, okay. So usually I have. clients where I will write ads, VSLs, and a whole landing page for them, which is quite a lot of stuff to write. But
Yeah.
I just think, like, because I'm pretty quick at it, with deadlines and stuff, you just have to like manage your time effectively. Like, for example, if one client's deadline is closer, then just get that work done first, obviously. But
Yeah.
it's just being really good with time management. Usually I spend a lot of time just working on one thing for a client, and then I'll move on to the next. So for example, I'll spend like 2 whole days writing a VSL for a client, or I'll spend a whole entire day writing an ad for a client. So it kind of depends on the client and the deadline, but if it's much more like, like close between, you just have to be really good with time management, to be honest. That's it.
Yeah. So in
Oh,
copywriting, okay, go ahead.
I was gonna say one thing actually. It's good to systemize your whole process. So like how I said with my copy before, of how I my process of how I write copy, I always follow that structure. So if you systemize copy rather than just, oh my god, every time writing from scratch, you have like a process that you follow. So over time you follow that and you'll become a lot more quicker and more efficient at
Yeah.
following that. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. You should have systems and you should
Yeah.
work on them every day. Okay.
Yes.
So what's the biggest challenge in copywriting you face, and how do
For
you
me,
overcome them?
yeah. So I guess the when I was first learning copywriting, I like I really hated it. I genuinely hated writing. I never liked writing from school. Like I got really bad grades in like English language and literature and stuff. And I don't know, I just really hated it. And I was watching all of these, like, I really wanted to learn copywriting, but I was watching all of these gurus and on the internet, and I thought, like, why am I not I guess confident in copy? And I was avoiding it. And I think the biggest challenge of the reason why I was avoiding copy for so long was because I was I wasn't confident in writing. Because for a lot of people, it's struggling to put words on the screen. Like, what do
Yeah.
you say? What do you start with? What do you say now? What, like, a lot of people, when for me it's like, what do you start doing? And the biggest challenge is putting words on the screen. I think that's what holds a lot of people back, because I've spoken to a lot of people who want to learn copywriting, and it's always like they don't know where to start. And that is the biggest thing for everyone. And that's why I said having that systemized process that I now go through helps me with that. So that's why I said looking at it like building blocks helps you, like writing. But I think the biggest challenge is actually writing itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I read a book, time management. No, sorry, mind management,
Mm.
not time management. And the author says that to write a book, it's the first 3 4 pages that's the hardest. After that, it's like the wind. So
Yeah,
in copy,
yeah,
your first
yeah.
3 lines, you start and eventually you will finish it.
Yeah, just to add to that though, I think one thing for me when I remember I was like, right, I'm gonna write copy now. I'm gonna sit here. I think the thing that a lot of people struggle with is obviously, as you just said, like writing those first few lines. And for me, it was uncomfortable, but I think the way I got past that was you have to accept that in the beginning it's gonna feel hard, right? It's always gonna feel hard. I remember when I first learned how to play the guitar, right? You might know this from when you learn when you're learning a skill. It's always hard in the beginning. Like for me, when I was learning the guitar, it's like, how do I move my fingers? I don't know what I'm doing, and it felt really weird. But eventually, the more you start writing, it will become easier. So if you want to like it's that struggle of in the beginning, and I guess it's just accepting that it's gonna feel hard in the beginning, and then you just push through it.
Yeah.
That's
So
it.
has there any been a time when your client didn't like your work?
Actually, that's never happened to me before, which is really good. And I'll tell, for anyone who's watching this who has a client who might not like their copy, there is something that I have obviously that I've done before even meeting the client, but I've never really had an experience where clients don't like my copy. And I think it's more of like, I've had experiences where they don't get results, but then I fix it. But if a client doesn't like your copy, it's because before they chose you as a copywriter, they didn't trust you. So, for example, I've got a ton of content on my channel talking about copy, so it gives them trust that I know what I'm talking about. And the thing is, even if a client doesn't like your copy, then like you have to change it, you have to improve it. So it's all about the client and the audience. But yeah, I have actually had one experience where the client questioned the copy as like, should you be doing this specific thing? It was to do with like the audience. Sometimes, right, the actual client doesn't understand copywriting like a copywriter. So
Yeah.
as a copywriter yourself, you understand, like, I've written this for a specific reason, right? Obviously, like a seasoned copywriter who's quite experienced would know that, but as a beginner, it's about experience. What was I saying again? I was saying, yeah, the actual client itself, they don't know copy like a copywriter. So you just have to get them to trust you, really, and that's it.
Yeah. And do you believe in the free trial? Like before getting your client, you give them 6 days for free. Do you
Yeah,
do that?
I'll give you an example. I think that doing free work in the beginning is your easiest way in, right? Easiest way in as a even, it doesn't matter what business you're doing. For example, my client that I've made over $32,000, right, for her, I did that for free, right? Completely for free. And like for some copywriters, it may think like, oh, I have to put in like so much work and all for technically nothing. But in the beginning, like when you've never had experience before, you've never had clients, you don't, in my opinion, you might hate me for this, but you don't deserve to make money until you've done free work first. And you have to, like, when you do the free trials, there's a few things that happen. A lot of people charge up front, which is you can help yourself stand out in that way by offering things for free. Like I did that with that client. I did it all completely for free for her. And what I learned from that was I learned a ton of things. I got a ton of experience. And like you obviously you'll learn a lot from doing the free work. And obviously from that free work, it's your easy way in. You can get results for free and you can show that as testimonials. And it's just an easy way in. So I definitely think you should definitely do free work in the beginning for at least a few people.
Oh, okay. So did you get in touch with this client or the client got in touch with you from your YouTube?
So this client, she reached out to us from, I think she was looking at our profile. She was originally in a group that we were also in, and she kind of just came to us. Yeah, because she wanted help with her selling her coaching program, and so obviously we could help with that, and so that's what we did. But yeah, she reached out to us.
Oh, and how do you get in touch with potential clients? Is it through Instagram DMs or emails or
Yeah, so
whatever?
for me, it's I'm currently doing advertising. Well, I'm going to be restarting that again, so I'm just starting to do putting ads out there with the VSL, but also Instagram DMs. But there is. Are you going to ask any more questions about like getting clients, or do you want me to like expand on that? Because there's one thing I want to talk about.
Yeah, you can expand on that.
Okay, so to do with getting clients, right? Getting into, I'm specifically going to talk about Instagram here. So
Yeah.
for example, a lot of people think that it's hard to do Instagram DMs, but there's only one reason why it's hard. Well, there's a lot of reasons, but there's one reason why it's hard. So, for example, I'm on this interview for a reason, and a lot of people follow me on social media for one reason. If I had never made any content about copywriting, do you think you would have trusted me in copywriting?
No.
No, you probably wouldn't. So that's the same thing. It's like when you're reaching out to clients through Instagram, for example, how do you expect your clients to feel the same? That when if you have no content to do with, let's say, even if it's not copywriting, if it's like video editing or something, you have no proof that of you know what you're talking about, you are a copywriter, you have no content, then you won't get like replies, you won't even let know, people won't even read your message. So having that personal brand, right? And it's not just like putting pictures of yourself eating food and mewing, right? I see this so
Yeah,
much. It's
yeah,
it's you have to show, like, show the books you're reading, show the things you're learning. And when you reach out to people, they'll trust you more. So that is the one thing, is personal branding. Yes.
it's a
So
great book.
it is a great book. It honestly, it
Yeah,
changed my life when I read that. But yes, all types of outreach works. You just have to do what's required for them to work. And personal branding for Instagram is the one thing. So yeah.
yeah. You should know your Instagram, how your Instagram looks like. What's your bio? Shouldn't be like my birthday is on 2000 whatever. You should be professional when you're
Yeah,
DMing someone.
exactly.
Yeah. So how do
Yes,
you
exactly.
how do you balance
Exactly.
creativity with data-driven decisions? Like you need to be creative in copywriting, but then there are certain things that
Yeah.
are data-driven. How do you manage that?
Yeah. So being creative, I think a lot of people being how do you balance creativity and data-driven decisions? One thing I always think about whenever I'm writing copy is it's not about the writer, it's about the audience you're writing to. So you're never writing for yourself, you're always writing for who that audience is. So obviously first you wanna make that data-driven decision of like this audience responds to this. Like always keep in mind the audience first. And then after you've written your copy, you can then sprinkle in some like creative stuff, like adding in humor and stuff like that. But I think one thing that people trip up with in copywriting is they think it's all about, in if you're thinking in terms of creativity being like very humorous and funny with your copy, they trip up and think it's all about being humorous. It's all about um, being silly with your wording, but it's more about the person you're writing to rather than yourself. And that's the way I like to think about it.
Yeah, it's basically know your audience, and you can be
That's it.
creative
You
with
have to
that.
know who you're talking to. Yeah,
Well,
so I
what's your
think
thoughts on?
you can, if you can be, sorry?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so I was saying like you first think about your audience and then you get creative with what that audience likes. So for example, I've got a bunch of emails that I've written for myself for my audience, and Gen Z humor, right? Gen Z, that's the type of people who's on my YouTube. So if I was to like send emails to them, that's the creativity I would add to it, right? So just think about your audience and then what creativity, how far should you go with creativity depending on that audience?
Yeah. And should you use short
That's
forms
it.
like IKR? I know, right? These are Gen
In
Z
my
short
opinion,
forms.
yeah. If you're targeting Gen Z like me, right, who's my
Yeah.
whole YouTube is literally just like 15-year-olds, then
Oh,
well, probably, but then you can start using slang terms like IDK or I don't know or WTF or
yeah.
whatever. You can use those ones, but depending on the audience, hold don't like if it's like an older audience, completely like don't use any short form words or slang terms. If it's Gen Z, by all means, make your whole copy about short form.
Yeah.
But it depends on who you're writing to. That's it.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on AI,
That's it.
and how do you see it affecting this industry?
I think it's a very controversial. I think AI is a very controversial thing in the copywriting world. And a lot of people question, like, is it going to replace copywriters? is copywriting even going to be a thing anymore? Like, what's it gonna come to, right? I think right now AI is not good enough to take over humans, and I don't even think even in the future AI will replace the jobs. But instead of actual AI replacing people, I think it's the people who can use AI that will do the best. So,
Yeah.
for example, I think AI, right, is so useful, and I think a lot of people, well, then again, normal ChatGPT is crap, but you can leverage AI to help you as a copywriter because the AI bot can help you get going. It can remove that writer's block. It can help you start, but you
Yeah.
have to use it to a certain extent. You can't like, oh, ChatGPT, give me a whole email for this client and it's about like dogs or whatever. Like, don't copy and paste AI because
Yeah.
AI is not very good at copywriting, in my opinion, but it can definitely help you. It's a tool that I think everyone should use and it will help a lot of copywriters get ahead. I use it all the time. Like, I honestly use it all the time, but you have to use your own brain as a copywriter. So
Yeah.
it's definitely helpful.
Well, so who do you think make good copywriters? Those who don't read books or those who have read many books in history and fiction? Who do you think makes a better
That's a good
copywriter?
question. Yeah, that's a good question. So I think you can read as many books as you want. Like you can read, like for example, you can read all. There's not a lot, but you can read all the copyright books that you want. You can watch all the videos that you want, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna be a good copywriter. What that just means you're like knowledgeable, right? And don't get me wrong, learning is a very key part of copywriting. Like if I had never read this book, or if I had never read this book, or if I've never read this book, I probably wouldn't be able to write copy that well. But yeah, exactly. But yes,
Great.
but the best copywriters, right? The best copywriters are the ones who write copy, right? The ones who write copy are the best copywriters because, for example, you can watch as many people on YouTube driving race cars, right? You can watch as many videos as you want of F1, Formula One, race cars. But if you never drive a Formula One car, you will never be a good Formula One driver. A good Formula One driver is the one who's on the track all the time. So what I'm trying to say is that the best copywriters are the ones who implement what they've learned and take action more than they've learned. So
Yeah.
take action.
Yeah,
That's it.
it's like swimming. No matter how many YouTube videos you watch on swimming, once you get
Yep.
in the pool, it's a total different world.
Yes,
So
exactly.
yeah.
Got it
Okay,
right.
so
That's it.
what's your approach to writing for different platforms like websites, social media, email marketing? And which one is your favorite?
Yeah, different platforms. Okay, so there's a difference between there is a big difference between depending on the platform. Um, Facebook and Instagram advertising, fairly the same thing. But if you're writing copy for a website, just think about like the framing of the type of person who is actually on that platform. Like, for example, I used to do SEO copywriting, which technically isn't, oh, it's copywriting, it's writing, but that's very different to actual sales copy because SEO is optimizing for a completely different thing. It's optimizing for ranking on Google, or it's ranking on a search term on YouTube or whatever it is. For example, a YouTube video script is very different to a Facebook ad or a VSL, right? There is some similarities, but they are pretty different. You just have to think like if you're writing uh, yeah, it just depends on where you're writing really. Like an email is pretty similar to content, or content can be similar to ads. You just have to think like the type of people on that platform and the framing
Yeah.
of the people who was on that type of platform.
And how do you measure the success of your copy?
Yeah, so I think a lot of copywriters don't do this. They don't measure if their copywriting is working, because I think for a lot of people, they think I'm just going to write some words and send it to my client, right? But your copy isn't going to get results, or it's not going to do very well if you don't track the results, obviously. So how do you track the results? So for me, I've written Facebook ads for my client, right? I've got a client who I've written Facebook ads for, but I actually also manage her ads. So I can see the data on her ads. For a lot of people, you might not be running their ads, which is going to be a tricky transaction because you kind of have to ask the client if, like, how is it going? What's the data? You're going to have to, like, get on a Zoom or something and ask them, like, what's the data of this copy, so that I can go and look back at my copy and rewrite. So there are tools. I guess you've got, like, it doesn't, if you're using like a CRM system for sending emails, then you have to kind of check the client's data, or if you're the one managing it, you'll get to see it. But it's either you're the one who is in control or the client is. And if the client's in control, you have to ask them. But you always have to look at the data. Always have to look at the data.
Yeah. Data, audience, and your self-knowledge and practice. These are important things.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so yeah. So how do you stay updated with the latest technologies, news happening in this industry?
Okay, so it's like there's always ads coming out every single day, and you always just have to look. So, for example, I'm going to use YouTube as an example, just because it's probably the most easiest to get head around. So, a couple of months ago, content was super like Mr. Beast style, right? It was super flashy, it was crazy edits flying all over the screen. But now you can start to see people are shifting towards raw content. And you kind of
Yeah.
just have to like consume a lot of content and look at what's going on these platforms to judge kind of like what's happening right now. But I think if you want to predict trends, people always tend to go the opposite way, right? So, for example, everyone went down the Mr. Beast route way, and now everyone's starting to go down completely raw content. So, and if everyone on YouTube is doing raw content, someone's gonna break the pattern and go back to Mr. Beast style. So, keeping
Yeah.
up with trends and stuff, it's always like, what is everyone doing now? And then what do you think is going to happen in the future? It tends to be the opposite. Um, but you can keep up with trends by just seeing what's on your feed, really.
Okay, speaking of trends, are there any copywriting techniques or trends you would think will be big in 2025?
Yeah, I think for copywriting trends, I would say there is one thing. I don't think you would call this a trend, but I think a lot of copywriters are going to get this wrong, and this is going to be very important. And it's a lot of the gurus, they don't talk about this that much. They just say, oh, you need to have NESB, you need to what's the word, you need to use NESB and all this stuff. But it's all of that is pretty useless if you don't have this one thing, and it's being relatable with the audience. So there's a reason why everyone's gone from Mr. Beast to Raw, because it's now more relatable. And I think it's relatability that is the key with copywriting. And you're not just writing words that sell, you are connecting with the person that you are writing to. So, for example, the reason why I've done so well on YouTube and the reason why my copy has done so well for my clients is because I've been relatable to the people that they're targeting. So, I don't know if you'd call it a trend, but that is, I guess, something. But there is one thing, right, that I'm seeing everyone going down now is they're using these fancy names. Depends on the market you're in. They're using fancy names to name systems and stuff. But yeah, to be honest, with copywriting trends, the best copywriting trends is just there isn't really trends. It's more of like, who are you targeting? What do they respond to? How can you connect with them? That's it.
Yeah, that point from everyone's shifting from Mr. Beast to these raw vlogs. I think it's more of an authenticity. People are fed up with these fake things.
Yeah.
Everyone is shifting to healthy diets,
Yeah.
clean foods, and authentic people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe it's
Yeah.
authenticity everyone's
That's
looking
it.
for.
Yeah, it's that because, for example, I posted. I know this is kind of irrelevant to copywriting, but if you're a copywriter, you still need to know this. I had an Instagram reel that got. I know it's not a lot, but usually I get 1,000, and that got 2,500. And the clear difference was, I was purely just telling a story about myself and being relatable and being authentic and showing myself. And so
Yeah,
if you look at so if you look at people like Alex Hormozy in the beginning, Simon Squibb, maybe not him, maybe not Iman, but they all show their relatable, authentic side, and that is what people connect with, as you just said.
yeah, and your editing skills on YouTube are great. We'll get back to that
Yeah.
later.
Oh, thank you.
But what
Yeah.
advice would you give to someone who's just starting out copywriting, doesn't know anything? What advice would you give him or
My
her?
biggest advice, my biggest advice, it would definitely, definitely be learn copywriting and write copy every single day. Like, I know I've said you shouldn't, like, learning is good, but if you just, because a big mistake a lot of copywriters are going to, beginner copywriters especially, are going to fall into is just consistently learning all the time but never actually writing. So my biggest advice to a beginner copywriter who doesn't know anything, actually there's another thing, it's write copy as much as you possibly can, learn as much as you possibly can. But if you want to know a hack to get started with copywriting and actually learn how to write copy from the best marketers, is go and analyze their copy. Go and like break down their copy, read it, what interests you, what's grabbing you in. So my biggest video on YouTube is analyzing people's copy, and you will learn the most from analyzing people's copy and writing copy yourself. So implement and learn.
Yeah, and where should you write it? On a pen or paper or on your laptop?
So it ideally you want to do it on a computer or you want to do it on a phone. It doesn't matter what app you use, it doesn't matter what computer you use. As long as it's fast, it's easy for you to do, it's efficient, it's got a keyboard, then you're pretty good. But for example, if it's being sent to a client, I wouldn't put it on a piece of paper purely because that shit's gonna get lost. So you can put ideas on a piece of paper, but actually do the actual writing on a computer or if it's on your phone.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe feedback is important too. Send it to someone who you know is
Mm,
great at copywriting and ask them how it is, and analyze it yourself.
yeah, yeah.
Because I
Actually,
remember,
on that, oh yeah, go on.
go
Sorry, you
ahead.
can say that. No, you can say it.
Yeah. Okay. So I remember Andrew Tate. He said this that
Yeah.
people speak their whole lives, but they're always saying this and using these filler words. So the way how he speaks is he analyzes all his interviews. Like he'll watch it 5, 6 times.
Mm,
And yeah, self-analyzation, feedback is very important in this field and in your life.
yeah.
You're going to speak, you're going to interact with other people, and that's what copywriting is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Feedback. I was gonna add to that actually. Feedback, there's a, like, for example, I do some reviewing on my channel. I think having feedback, you can definitely use AI to give you feedback. It's not accurate, but you find someone, or for example for me, I will review people's copy, right, and I'll tell you where you're going wrong, and as you said, having that feedback, especially when you said about ums and ahs, we're against that, but yeah, having that feedback will help you to see where you're going wrong and what you can do instead.
Yeah, and I was looking at your shorts, and you said that you should get into everyone's email list, those who are good at speaking, and you should analyze it from them, those emails,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
should study them.
Find the biggest online marketers. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that was a really good advice. It never crossed my mind,
yeah,
but yeah, when you come to think
yeah.
of it, that's a very good way to learn copy.
It is because
So
you actually get to see how the big people write. So
yeah, yeah, that's like real life examples. Okay, so what tools
yeah.
or softwares do you use for writing and editing your copy?
So for me, it depends on where you are. You might use Word, but for me, I always use Google Docs, right? It's so easy. You can pull up a
Yeah,
Google Doc straight away and you can start writing. So it just depends on like what wherever you do. You thing is I used to write on Notepad, which is like if you have iPhone, there's like a notes app on your phone. I never write on there because it gets lost. So always write
yeah,
somewhere where you can find your copy. So Google Docs for me is the best.
yeah. Google Docs is one of the best ones. Word is like outdated. They should change atmos, their software, whatever you call it. It's like too
Yeah.
old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Agreed.
how do you collaborate with designers, marketers, or other team members? Or right now you're just one person, one man
I
job.
actually I do copywriting with a team, but for example, if you're writing on your own, it's still fine. Like you can still write on your own, but obviously having that people to help you is good. I have a team of people who do help as I write um, the copy. But how do you actually connect with people is you can make like network with copywriters, like make friends. Like for example, on my channel, right? If you go to my YouTube or whatever, there is a ton of copywriters who follow me
Yeah,
and comment. So you can connect with people like through copywriting channels like mine, and you can just find other people. And even if you don't want to work with them, you can just like ask them what are their thoughts on copywriting, just want to connect with another copywriter. um but yeah.
yeah. I heard that your network is your net worth, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I read that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what's the most rewarding part of being a copywriter?
For me currently right now is the fact that I get to get my clients crazy results, right? And this comes with time when you've written enough copy and you've put enough copy out there. It's really getting to help your clients make that money getting that result. So, for example, my client, she went from being in debt, her coaching program was making nothing, right? She was in debt because she bought so many courses and trying to get people to help her actually market her course. And for me, I completely like switched that around, and she's now making over $32,800 in a single month of like me helping her with her whole like process. And that for me actually helping the clients win is so rewarding. And then I think a lot of people will trip up and think it's all about the money, you making money, because that she's actually. Oh, also when you said earlier about the free trials, for anyone who's watching this, or if you're thinking that if the free trial was actually worth it, that client that I'm still talking about is a 3,000 per month client. So that it's still worth it. But getting to help people is what's so rewarding for me, and the fact that I actually get to help people. And I don't really see it more about the money, I see it about helping them. And then as to when you help them and you're more passionate about helping the client themselves, you will get it will come back to
Yeah,
you by
yeah, it
default.
comes
So
back to you.
that's it.
Yeah. So, what skills and habits do you think are essential for uh, getting ahead in this field?
So if you as a copywriter, you need to what's the word hold on, I'm trying to think. There is a few things that you need to have. So if you want to be a successful copywriter, you need to be adaptable. That's one skill that you need to learn. It's not really a skill, it's kind of a trait, but for example, you need to be adaptable to your audience, because every person you write to has a completely different audience. So my audience is very different to my client's audience, or another one of my clients' audience. They're very, very different. And so you have to mold your words and adapt yourself to different people that you're writing to. That's one skill that you have to have, is being adaptable. The second skill is analyzing other people's copy. That's a skill in itself, is actually data analysis. So
Yeah.
really understanding what's going on in the market right now. What are other people writing? What can I take from that I can put in my own copy? And as you said, looking at the trends, what's currently going on with all the copy that's out here? Like, what can I do to stand out? So it's being adaptable, being good at analyzing. And the third thing is, for me, it would definitely be not quitting with copy. Don't stop writing copy. You have to have that determination, and technically that's a skill in itself, because it's very hard to be disciplined in
Yeah.
writing, right? You have to continuously write every single day in order to get better. So be adaptable, be good at analyzing copy, your own and others, and just don't give up.
Yeah, I think what most people struggle with copywriting is that you need time. You need to sit down and think. And right now, you
Yeah,
have
you do.
TikToks and
Yeah,
Instagram and YouTube Shorts. You're just scrolling and
big
scrolling.
distractions.
And yeah,
Yeah,
there's so many distractions. That's why copy is like one of the hardest things nowadays, though it's not.
yeah.
But yeah,
Need
you
to
should learn how
be
to sit
like,
down.
that's it. That's it. It's patience.
Patience. Yeah. You
hmm
said earlier that you didn't like writing. What inspired you to start writing?
Yeah, honestly, I remember like in the beginning, when I just like writing in general when I was in school, I always really hated it, as I said. And then when I got into copywriting, I always felt so scared. I was like, oh my God, I gotta write words. It's something I never ever liked. But what really turned that around was the fact that I knew that I could get results with my copy, right? When you start getting that, like, not reward, but when you start making that back, that results from your
Dopamine.
copy, yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
Dopamine.
but
Yeah, something like that.
that's another thing. But it's also like, it just really, oh, because obviously I started changing my mindset from that, was like the turning point of, I had to be an entrepreneur, and like this was what I wanted to do. And I started like really getting into marketing in a nerdy way that is probably weird, but I really love it so much. And I think it's creative. So anything creative for me was like really drew me into it. But I just started liking it, to be honest. It just, yeah, snowballed from there.
Yeah. The thing with me was I hated writing. But then there
Yeah.
was a point in my life where everything changed. That's a
Mm.
story. But I started writing journals. And
Mm.
it's been 6 years. And now they're like my friends. You sit down and write. And then you can look
Yeah.
at the old times. You're
Yeah.
writing. You're like, what's this? Like, why do you write this? But yeah, and creativity is important.
Yeah.
Though, let me tell everyone that I don't like painting, I don't like coloring, but I like building things. Like Legos, they're my
Yeah.
favorite. You can leave me in the
Yeah.
room with them, and I'll sit down and
Yeah.
yeah.
Legos. Oh, we love Legos. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Uh,
creativity.
any books do you recommend?
I actually have there's 4 books, but I'm gonna include a bonus one at the end. So reading, as I said, is essential to copywriting, because obviously you need to know basic principles to start writing. And these 4 books will help you understand that. So the first book that you need to read is definitely going to be Copywriting Secrets. As you know, you have it as well. This, literally anyone who's starting copywriting can read this, and it will tell you everything you need to know, like from human psychology, how to structure copy, what to write about, what do people respond to in copywriting, and it says itself, it tells you all the copywriting secrets. And what that will help you do is help you get results with your copy the more you write it. I have 2 more books, well, a few more. The second book that I would recommend you reading, actually, I don't have it as a physical thing, but it's Take Their Money by Kyle Milligan, which you've probably heard. Everyone's probably heard of it, but it's a really, really good flipping book. And if that would be the one copywriting book I'd recommend, it probably would be that one. But it really helps you understand that copywriting is not just about words, it's about what you communicate. And once you understand that shift, that you're trying to communicate something, that's when I read that book, I started getting results. So that's the second book I would recommend reading. The third book that I would recommend reading, again, I don't have it with me. It's called Great Leads. I don't know the guy's name, but it tells you about audience, and the type of audience that you're marketing to, which is incredibly crucial if you want to write good copy, because you have to understand who you're writing for in order to get results with your copy. Because in the end of the day, you're writing to people, and you need to understand what's going to get them to respond to your copy. So the fourth book is this one, which you might not have read it, and a lot of people probably don't see this as a copywriting book, but Expert Secrets technically is a copywriting book in itself. It's a marketing book, really. And for you to be a good copywriter, you have to be a good marketer. So this teaches you everything from connecting with your audience, building VSLs, building webinars, all that stuff. And yeah, Expert Secrets is what it's called. It just really gives you more, I guess, go deeper into like marketing. How do you build that audience? How do you connect with that audience? What gets people to take action? I haven't read this in a while. Probably going to reread that. And the last one, which you have as well, is definitely going to be this one. This is more about words. Yeah. It's more about words, but it's psychology in itself as well. So if you're someone who probably struggles with words and you don't really know what words should you include in your copy, this is like a really good way to start understanding words and the meaning behind the words. So I'll give you a quick example, which you've probably read as well, is the word imagine, right? It's such a simple word, the word imagine. But when you say like imagine, you're on a ship and it's stormy and there's like crashing waves everywhere. You picture that in your brain. And so that really helps you to deeply connect with the audience as well. But that just helps you basically write words and understand psychology more deeper, I guess. So those were the books that I would recommend you reading.
Yeah, there are many books. Even from this writer, there's that book, .com Secrets. Have you read that?
Yeah, I've actually got it.
Yeah, even that's a great book. So
it is a
the
good
last
book.
question in copywriting is, what inspired you to start it?
What inspired me to start writing copy? Yeah.
I think we've been
It's
through
the
this.
fact that you can get like results with your copy. Like you can write words, and those just words, simple words, can turn into like thousands, right? So it's really just because it's creative as well, but yeah, it's very important.
Well, so our copywriting questions are done. We just have a few more questions
Yeah.
on. Let's not forget that you have, in the span of 11 months, you now have around 12K YouTube subscribers, and your best video has done 300,000
Yeah.
views, something like that, and you get 500,000 views on YouTube. You have 500,000 views on YouTube, which is pretty amazing, you know. So
Yeah.
the first question from
Mm-hmm.
YouTube is,
That's it. That's
what
fine.
inspired you to start your YouTube channel? Was it directly
In the
related to
beginning,
your
yeah.
copywriting?
No, actually, it's funny because I started. What really inspired me to do it was I can document my life, right? I just wanted to really document what I was doing because obviously I didn't really know much about how powerful a personal brand was, but the whole reason why I started that YouTube was to just like help other people who are in my position, because that's all I really wanted to do. I really just wanted to like inspire people and show people that, look, if I'm doing this, there's no way you can't do this. And so and I really just wanted to document what I was doing. And in the beginning, it was a big challenge because for a lot of people and for myself in the beginning, it really like scared me to put myself on camera. Like, for example, me back then would never have been able to do something like this. Never would I would never have gotten those subs or anything or have this huge, amazing community if I didn't
Yeah.
have that confidence to go on camera. So I guess another thing was I really just wanted to grow my confidence as well. But I wanted to share everything that I've learned. And I guess it's come to this.
Yeah. Like, I think we all were the last persons to come on a camera. Like, I never wanted to take a picture with anyone. Like, just
Yeah,
leave me
same.
alone. Leave me alone. Let me
Same.
stay in my
Yeah,
room. Yeah.
yeah, me too.
So, what are your goals for the channel? Like,
So currently, well, there's a few goals, different types of goals. The first goal was I wanted to build, because I once I started getting traction with YouTube, I started to realize that I can build a really cool community of young entrepreneurs, right? I can really build that. And so my goal was, well, this year was to get to 10K, and we haven't even finished 2024 yet. And we've surpassed that by a lot now, which is really good. But my plans in the future is I'm going down the route of copywriting now. So I really want to help people with copywriting, online marketing, and getting clients. And so that's the thing I've always been really passionate about doing. And so where I'm definitely going to go with this is a lot of people would think, oh, well, you have this big audience that you can sell to and you can sell a course, right? But I'm not going to do any of I'm not going to sell a course. Like what I'm going to do is I am going to help people with copywriting in a deeper way, but um yeah, I'm going to go down more the route of marketing, kind of like Alex Catoni, so that kind of thing, but really helping people with copywriting. Oh, I think is the mic turned off? Oh, I think you're muted. Yeah, are you muted or are you muted for a reason? One sec. Oh, okay. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. It's okay. I'll just like rant from now on if you want me to talk about YouTube. Yeah. Okay. So honestly, I wasn't like intending to really grow as big as I have so quickly. I kind of just really wanted to help and document the thing, but now I realize obviously I can help as many people as I can. But there is one thing with YouTube that I think is the reason why I've grown so big, and it's because it always goes back to that authenticity and being relatable with people and really connecting. Because a lot of people when they start YouTube is they try to tell people off in a not intentional and an intentional negative way, but that's what seems to happen because we see people on YouTube and they're like, oh, never do this or you'll fail as a copywriter, right? Which is the bad way to start it. So for anyone who's like how this can actually benefit you as a copywriter, as an agency or freelancer, have a personal brand, even if you're not intentionally like trying to grow it to this humongous, massive audience like I have. Even if you're just trying to get clients from that audience, like make content, make content. It will help you get clients because, as I said, a lot of people who are copywriters trying to get clients have they're not even showing their face. They have a Spider-Man Instagram filter on their face, and they've got like they've got like silly pictures on their profile. So how do you expect? As I said, remember what I said. Like, how do you expect to get clients that way if you're not showing content that you can actually write copy. So for me, a lot of people trust me with copy is because I've written copy a lot, and I'm showing that on my profile. So if you want your clients to trust you, start a personal brand. If that's the one thing like you could do, is start a personal brand. Even if you're not trying to grow it to this huge thing, make content on Instagram and YouTube, and it will pay off. Like, honestly, you have to really do personal branding, and it's the thing that's really paid off for me, because I wouldn't have been able to get that client, the other clients that I've had, if I hadn't had this personal brand, and I wouldn't even be here. So let me talk about YouTube scripting real quick. So YouTube scripting, okay, YouTube scripting and copywriting, technically the same thing, but I follow a certain principle with YouTube scripting, and I think if any of you are copywriters, you want to just analyze what I'm doing, then by all means go and watch my videos. But with YouTube scripting, it's the same thing as copywriting. You're trying to get someone to take an action, and this can apply to whatever copy you're writing. You have to give people a reason to stay. You have to give people a reason to keep watching. You have to give people a reason to listen to you. And if you don't give people a reason to, I guess, listen to you, then they're not going to listen to you. That's one really big thing. But giving people a reason to stay and why they should listen to you. For example, a lot of people watch me because I have a lot of subs, is another thing. I talk a lot about copywriting, and because of my story, which was, I did that in the beginning, my story of who I am and why I'm a copywriter, and I used to struggle, and how I'm, pretty good at it now. But you have to, with content, for anyone who's trying to do really well with content, is you have to be relatable. And yeah. Oh, do you want me to carry on? There's one thing I want to go on to, actually.
Sure.
One thing I really want to go on to that I think, and I'm going to make this a big thing of mine soon, but a lot of copywriters miss out on the fact that you have to be relatable in your copy, right? So I'll give you an example. I won't go too deep into this, but I have my client, I read her a copy, right? And it was all about like her story of how she was a busy nurse working a 9 to 5. She was burnt out, overworked. She didn't have any time for her family. She was really struggling. She was actually in debt, and she really wanted to find a way to make money online, right? And so I share that story through in her copy, and that's why people are really connecting with her in the copy that I've written for her. So whenever you're writing copy, it's not just about making it sound new. It's not just about making it sound easy. It's not just about making it sound safe and big and attention grabbing. And like, you can have all the crazy stuff, but if you don't truly connect with the people you're talking to and the people you're trying to take action of your thing, then you won't have a really big impact. So be relatable with your copy is one thing.
Yeah.
So
Really sorry for being mute. I have 3
that's
small
right.
siblings, and I don't know
Yeah.
what happened over there.
That's okay. That's okay. Don't worry. That's fine.
No,
It's
okay,
cool.
so you edit your videos, and on what platform do you edit it, and how do you make your videos? Do you use a phone or a camera? Because people, they
Yeah.
don't start, they're usually waiting for a Sony camera or something, and they keep on waiting, and by the time they realize they're like 26. So how do you
Yeah.
film your videos?
So if you're someone who's looking to be a content creator or whatever it is, you want to start making content on YouTube. Don't wait for the camera. Don't wait for the crazy mic. Don't wait for the nice background. Don't even wait for like that. You're never going to be ready, because honestly, ask yourself the question of like, to anyone who's watching this, like, when have you ever been ready to do anything, right? And so for me, I use my phone, right? I literally use my iPhone, and personally, I want a better camera. But when you're starting out, like, you don't need to perfect what you're doing. Like, honestly, just start, grab the camera, put it up somewhere, and click record. And from there, you'll start learning about what kind of style you want to go down. So for example, I never used to have this background of how I kind of position my content. If you look at my normal content that I'm doing now, it's very different from how I used to do it. And that comes with
Yeah.
testing. But another thing I was going to say is if you want to know the editing software and all the stuff that I do use as someone who doesn't have a crazy camera, doesn't have a crazy mic, doesn't have a crazy splashy background, is use CapCut, right? You have to use CapCut because it's free and it's really, really good because it's easy to edit. You have a lot of flexibility with it. You CapCut you can do, and even if it's the free version, it's really, really helpful to do.
Yeah.
Canva as well for thumbnail creation. That's one thing. Another thing is obviously get a tripod. This was £7
Yeah.
in the UK, so it was basically nothing. So get a tripod that you can stand. Use your iPhone. Like it's fine. You don't need a camera, and if you can, get a mic, but you don't need it you don't really have to have it, but just use what you've got. Use what you've got.
Yeah. Yeah. So as I was saying, she has 13K subscribers and she's using her iPhone and normal things. And you guys, you don't even have 10 subscribers and you want a Sony camera with who knows what. So just start.
Yeah,
And
just
yeah,
start.
even I use an iPhone and I use this app. It's a very good app. It's a free app. Do you know this
Yeah,
Black Magic cameras? Have you heard
yeah.
of them?
I actually downloaded it. I never knew how to use it.
Yeah, so they have a free app and that's really good. You should definitely look into it.
Mm,
So it
yeah,
works
Black Magic.
on the
Yeah,
iPhone. You should look into that. That's really good.
yeah,
Okay, so the next question is what's your process for scripting and planning each video?
yeah. So I do have a process that I always go through, but the first thing I did want to say before I actually get into the scripting and all the fun fancy stuff that I do, I always have to keep in mind I need to be real, me, right? Being real, being you, not hiding yourself behind the scripts or the editing or the fancy backgrounds. Like being me is one thing that I always think about throughout the entire process, because if I'm not me and I'm not real and I'm not, showing who I really am, then no one's gonna care. So I try to be really relatable and be me. But the process that I go through, it's actually really simple, right? The first thing that I do is if I get like a bulk of, usually I have an idea of what I want to start talking about, but I'll get an idea going that I want to write about. So I don't really know what my next video idea is going to be. I do have a lot of ideas. I think I might break down another one of my clients' copy, but I usually come up with an idea, right? And I write down all the ideas, even if it's not thousands of ideas, even if it's just 5 ideas, I'll just write them down. And then think about what's the one that you can talk about right now that it's coming to your mind and you can think, oh yeah, I kind of think I want to talk about that one first. That's the first thing, is ideation. The second thing that I do is I'll start thinking about the what's the intro of the video, because doesn't matter how real I am, doesn't matter doesn't matter about the video. If what I say in the beginning doesn't keep someone watching, then they're not gonna get the value in the video. So I have to make sure that people are watching the first few minutes. So I'll spend
Yeah.
I'll spend a lot of time. Mainly, I spend a lot of time on the intro. As a copywriter, I kind of know what I'm talking about, and over time, I've sort of what's the word? Understood what I want to write, but I'll write the intro, and always keeping in mind, like, giving them a reason to listen to you, giving them a reason to keep watching this video, and letting them know, like, what are they going to learn. And the key thing is as well is really, really giving them a really good enough reason to listen to you, which I said by being relatable and stuff. But scripting is, I mainly script the intro. The rest of the video, I don't really script it properly. I kind of just like, I always follow that 80-20 rule where you spend 80% of your time focusing on the beginning, and then you spend 20% of your time, I guess, structuring the rest of the video. So you spend time on the intro and then you structure, oh, I guess in the middle of the video, I want to talk about this, and then I want to talk about this, and then at the end, I'm going to say this. And then you kind of just structure it like copy, how you do that. It's kind of like the same thing with the copy process. I get my idea, I think about who I'm talking about, I write down my building blocks, and then I start writing down the intro and stuff, and then I glue it all together. That's the scripting process. But obviously then I probably am doing this backwards, but I do the title and the thumbnail after. And
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just easier because I've got the video, and then I start basically basing the thumbnail off of the video.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah. Even I do that too.
Yeah, it's just
After my
easier.
videos. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
another thing as well, I was going to say about thumbnails and titles. I know this will apply to people who want to be a content creator, but to do with people who want to write copy or whatever it is, always keep in mind viewer expectation. When they click that thumbnail and title, they're going to have a specific type of framing in mind. And so in the first few seconds, you want to meet that viewer expectation. Like, I clicked on this video because I want to learn how to write copy without a course. And then you, like, for example, my 100K video says, I'm guessing you want to learn copywriting, right? And that was it. And it's like, yes, I do. And then that's it. So just
Yeah.
keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. Usually people have this long 20-second introduction, and there's all the songs and graphs,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you
no,
just lose the
you don't
interest.
even need that. Yeah, don't need it.
Okay, so how do you balance between educating your audience and promoting your services?
So I guess it's like for me, if you're asking me how I educate my audience, which is people who want to learn copywriting, I kind of like, I spend what's my process? Usually on the weekends, I will film everything. So in my kind of, I guess you could say, time that I make free for myself, I will start writing scripts for my YouTube, or I'll start ideating for my YouTube. Any time that I set aside to do that, it's more about like time management. Um, when it's to do with content, specifically on Instagram, I'll bulk it in one go, and then I'll just start putting it out. But just, you kind of have to be really good with your time management, and it depends on like your days, because everyone's days are very different. Everyone's 24 hours are being used differently. So just keep in mind, how much time should you spend on your content? Not too much, but enough to still be valuable, you know?
Yeah. Well, what strategies have you found effective in growing your subscriber base?
Strategies for growing. Okay, so obviously as I said, the big thing I'm going to keep coming back to, and I think it's definitely the new strategy that everything is going to go down, is raw content that is relatable. And that is, for so long I was trying to study, why am I growing so big? Like, what's going on? Why have I all of a sudden gone from 600 subs to like that 12K in like a year, that quickly? And I was trying to figure that out, and it wasn't because my scripts were amazing, it wasn't because I had crazy editing, and it wasn't because my thumbnails were, well, that great. It's because people connected with me on a personal level, and not just by the words I said. Like, for example, you being yourself is relatable. Me being a young entrepreneur who is a copywriter is relatable in itself. And so I look at that as a strategy of being relatable. And from now on, I need to basically, that's what I'm trying to improve on, is how can I be more flawed? How can I be more personal? Right? Another
Yeah.
strategy, I guess, it would just be that, really, being relatable, really.
Being relatable. Okay,
That's it.
have you noticed any difference in the way clients perceive you because of your YouTube presence?
I think it makes a difference, right? They definitely look at you as like, you know what you're talking about, right? That's why my clients, they trust in what like me and my team are doing, because I talk a lot about copywriting, even on the other profile as well. But there is a difference, because if I never had any like sort of proof of me being able to write copy, me being able to do marketing alone, you could tell like the clients just wouldn't be confident in you. So yeah, that the content definitely builds that trust and authority that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, can you share any valuable lessons you've learned through your YouTube journey?
Yeah, big valuable lessons. There is a few. Um, I remember in the beginning, I would really struggle to um like make the videos itself and scripting and stuff. The biggest lesson have learned from the whole journey though is, again, being relatable is a big lesson. And you might hear on the internet people say like, fuck being relatable. You don't need to do that. That's just them marketing to you, really. But being relatable is so, I know I keep saying it, is so important. You have to connect with that audience. And it's something I couldn't figure out for a really long time until I realized it was that connection that I had built. Another really big lesson is don't put too much pressure on yourself when it comes to like, are we lagging? Are we good? I think it was lagging there for a bit. But I was
Yeah.
gonna say, don't put too much pressure on yourself to ideate. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Like, don't overthink. Because in the beginning, I used to overthink so many ideas, and I was like, what do I do? And it's like you don't need to watch all these videos about the algorithm. You don't need to like, all you need to focus on is just making videos that you enjoy making, that you like can talk about. So that's another thing, actually, making sure you can make videos that you can talk about, because otherwise you're kind of just making it up, and your conviction, which is your confidence and your real self, comes from the stuff that you know you can talk about the most. So don't overthink YouTube. It's not like some, oh my god, the algorithm is like this magic lock, that the safe that I need to try and like decode or something. The
Yeah.
algorithm is as simple as YouTube wants to keep people on the platform and bring people on the platform, and if you can do that, YouTube will reward you with views. So don't overthink any of it. Just really, that was the biggest turning point for me, was just making videos that I enjoyed making, and that was the copywriting stuff, and not forcing yourself to do something that you have to do. Just make videos you enjoy making, while also keeping in mind what do other people like. So if you take anything from that, that would be that.
Yeah. So you need to create videos and upload them. None of them, especially your first 50, they won't be perfect. And
No, yeah, I forgot to
eventually,
mention actually. Yeah, yeah, like
yeah,
you said in the beginning. To be honest, I hate, if we was to like really look back on every video that I've done from now until like then. I
yeah,
let's go on my thing. I really hate a lot of them. Right, I hate the first one. I hate the second one. Basically, all of the ones in the beginning I really hated, up until the copywriting videos, right? And that's because I was overthinking. And in the beginning, you, like you said, they're not perfect, and you will not know what you're doing in the beginning, and it's kind of like navigating a maze until you realize that now you kind of know how to navigate it. But yeah, like, don't pressure yourself, as I said, to try and get it perfect in the beginning, because over time, you will develop that style. Over time, you will develop that confidence. And it's part of the journey, as you said.
Yeah. So, do you see YouTube as a big part of your career long term or more of a side project?
So it used to be more of like a side thing. It used to be that until I realized that I can do this for a long term, and that's what I'm going to be going down now because I want to help people more and deeper. Because with YouTube before, I was just documenting for documenting. I was just making videos for making videos. Now I'm making them with a reason of I want to help people with copywriting, and it's definitely going to be a long-term personal branding thing. I think for anyone watching this video, and maybe you as well, like just think about why are you doing the channel in the first place? Like what is the purpose behind it? Like what's the word? You have to
What's
have a
your
purpose with
why?
it. Yeah, what's your why? And it's also like you might not want to make it long term. You might want to have it as a short side thing, but it really depends on anyone. There's no really right way to do it, in my opinion. But what were we saying again? I kind of feel I slipped my mind. I don't know why. Yeah, have a purpose with YouTube. I
Have
don't
a
know why I
purpose.
slipped.
Yeah.
Have a purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, and your first video won't define how your next after your 50th video what they'll be. Maybe you started as a traveler and then you start as a copywriter. These are all parts of the journey and you should
Yeah.
embrace
It,
it.
it changes. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it changes. You won't have one specific niche.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Where do you find inspiration for your channel's content?
There is, I guess you could say, three ways, three places that I get ideas from. The first way is looking at other people's content, right? That's not entirely the sole place. That's where a lot of people think you should, and I obviously do. But that can confuse a lot of people sometimes. So it's going to be looking at other people in your niche. What kind of videos do you want to make, or that other people are also making that are similar to you? So look at what other people are doing and model it. So for example, I had a millionaire look at my video and copy the whole thing. As I'm saying, like looking at other people's videos will help you. The second thing that I do is I look at everything that I've personally learned. So, for example, everything that I've learned in this book, not all of it, but everything, some stuff I've learned in that book, I turned into a YouTube video. Even if it's not just like the whole book, it can be like a specific lesson that you learned from the specific book.
Yeah,
And you can look in stuff that you've learned, like books you've read, um, personal stuff that you've personally gone through, and then you talk about that. The third thing, which I think is very important as well, is once you have that traction and you start having that audience, you'll unlock the third one. When you have that, it's looking at what do people want from you. So what a lot of people want from me now is they want a lot of content to do with getting clients. How do you actually start writing copywriting from complete scratch?
yeah,
All that kind of stuff. And they really struggle with all of that. There is a lot of ideas, I can't name all of them, but they you have to think about what your audience wants as well. But you'll only know that once you grow. So those are the three ways that I basically get ideas from. And yeah.
yeah. And how do you feel your copywriting skills impact your YouTube content? From scripting to
Oh,
creating
yeah.
thumbnails?
Hugely, massively. Like even if like maybe you're not a copywriter, if you're trying to write, use your copywriting skills for YouTube scripts because you're at the end of the day with copywriting, you're trying to get someone to read. Same thing with YouTube. You're trying to get someone to listen to you. It's the same thing. And you apply the same sort of principles with YouTube. And it definitely, once I started really taking copywriting seriously and I started understanding how to actually write copy properly, that's when I started getting really big results with my YouTube. So script writing is a very, very important part of YouTube. So it definitely has a big impact.
Have you noticed any crossover between your YouTube audience and clients reaching out for your copywriting?
Yeah, so actually, that's funny. So that I had a big creator. I use this specific as an example because the power of YouTube and having that personal brand. I'm going to use this is the one of the examples. I had a big content creator who's very known for content and they're very known on YouTube. Um, Worked with a very big company on YouTube called Think Media. They reached out to me
Oh
and
yeah,
asked me to be their copywriter. So that stuff can happen or not. It might not be as big as that, it might be even bigger, but it doesn't matter. People can still reach out to you from that, and so that definitely happens. You can't solely rely on it, obviously, but that personal branding element can attract outside clients like that one, for example.
yeah. And for those of you who are just getting into this YouTube creator, becoming one, you should definitely check out Think Media. Their
Yeah.
tips are
Do you
very
know
nice.
I don't he's not we'll see where it's going because I still need to talk to him, but you know Nolan Malt.
Yeah, yeah, I know him.
Yeah, him. He basically reached out to me and that happened. So I'm not saying this to like brag or anything. I'm saying that that can happen to you, it can happen to the people watching if you have that
Yeah,
personal branding element.
yeah. How do you manage the balance between sharing valuable insights and protecting your own methods or unique approach as a copywriter?
I think this is funny. I'm gonna say this, but I think a lot of creators in the copywriting space, they hide their own strategies. Personally, I
Yeah,
don't. Personally, I don't because I it doesn't matter if I hide if I hide it, then it's not valuable. Like everything that I talk about, you can read my copy and you'll see that I've implemented it. And I definitely believe a lot of copywriters they hide their own stuff. They definitely do because otherwise they wouldn't need them. But I just give it all away, to be honest. I just really give it. But it's not about like because your own strategies, anyone can copy you, and it doesn't really matter. I just think about like I just want to be valuable to people and truly give people value. So, for example, one of my strategies was the analyzing copywriters copy, right? Analyzing, and you can truly get the gold that's hidden in all their courses through just analyzing their copy. That was my strategy, and I just give it away to people. And another thing is being relatable and telling people to do content. That's what I do, but I'm still telling people to do it. And I think you should just give it away to people. Just give it away to people,
yeah,
really. That's it.
yeah. And the thing is that people they think that it's some secret method, and you start getting subscribers or clients. It's not. It's
Yeah,
just it's the same road. We all are walking on it, and it just depends what's your goal, what's your vision, and how disciplined you are.
that's it.
Yeah,
There is
that's
no
it.
there is no secret to I thought there was in the beginning because I was like, I do I what is there something I don't know about the algorithm? Is there something I don't know about YouTube? There's a reason why. Don't get me wrong, some videos I've seen of people get like really low views, and then some people will get a lot. I
Yeah,
haven't really cracked the reason why that is, but I have a feeling it's to do with like niching and relatability and the categorization of the channel. But it's nothing to do with any secret really. It's more of like YouTube will push your video to people. It's just do those people like that video, and that is YouTube in a nutshell.
yeah.
And same with copy.
The last question: who or what inspires you in the content creation space?
Okay, for me, as a copywriter, who do I get inspired by? I I don't really have like an ideal person, a specific person that I like look up to. I just think, what are they doing that I can do better and different? So I wouldn't say they're more of an inspiration. I would say they're more of like I just look at them and think, what can I do better? So
Yeah.
you've got Tyson, who I'm trying to really be better than, and Cardinal Mason. I mean, I respect Tom so much. I think he's really good at what he does. He's definitely like an inspiration for me, but I I would say I really just look at people and just think, what can I do better and stand out? But everyone will have their own inspiration. Tom is definitely one of them. But for me, actually, one inspiration that you probably won't really expect is Simon Squibb. You might have heard him, the What's Your
Yeah.
Dream Man. The reason why I look up to him is again because the reason why he's grown so fast is because he's just giving everything away. He's just helping people. He's just genuinely caring for the people who he's talking to. And that is something that I really, really look up to. And the same thing with Alex Hermosi in the beginning was very raw, very real, very relatable. And that for me is a very big inspiration.
Yeah. Like the other day, I was sitting down and thinking, if this guy comes and asks me, "What's your dream?" What am I going to say?
Yeah, no, see, I don't know either.
Yeah.
You really just find it through the journey, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so we all know that entrepreneurship, being a business person, is hard and it's a lonely journey. And I read, actually,
Yeah.
it was a movie, and the guy says that the journey to greatness is a solitary one, and that's understandable. So, do you have friends?
Do I have friends? I do, but um, I have a few. I obviously you're one of them. I've got two other ones as well who I really enjoy talking to. If we're going to go on the topic of friends and really picking the right people, I just think just look at the people you're hanging around and just think, are they beneficial? Not in like a selfish way, but beneficial to you and to them. And then kind of judge on that. But the thing is, I don't have a lot of friends and I don't like having loads of friends. You just want to have ones that are they're good for you and you're good for them. And that's it. So
Yeah, and as a copywriter, as a content creator, you're on the screen staring at it. How do you manage that? How do you manage your health? How do you manage your eyes? Like, do
yeah,
you wear blue light
yeah.
goggles, glasses?
Yeah, so I do have like screen protecting glasses. I don't really wear them a lot. I probably should. Just haven't been consistent with them. They get kind of annoying sometimes, but it's just like you just have to take breaks, honestly. Like you are a human being in the end of the day. Like don't use that as like an excuse. Anyone watching this, a lot of people think like I'm a human. I'm going to use that as an excuse to not do anything, right? But I just think you have to do work. Just have that thing where you're like, I need to drink water. I'm going to drink water. Now's the time to go and eat lunch. I'm going to eat lunch. I'm going to take a break now for a little bit. And yeah, just make sure that you do take breaks, I would say. That's it.
And to other copywriters, uh, the female, even they're starting entrepreneurship, like Leela Hermosi.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
what would you say to them, like to
Yeah.
get that
Any
confidence to
female
start?
entrepreneurs. Yeah. I think one thing that stops a lot of girls is they think that men are the businessy people, right? Which is like definitely a fact. Like there is a lot of men in
Yeah.
the industry, which is true. And I think that's another thing why a lot of girls think I'm not meant to be an entrepreneur and they might not know. It's just like a subconscious thing, I guess. And I think another thing is girls are very subconscious. As I said, women are very emotional and not like in an excuse way, but very conscious about themselves. So putting themselves out there or doing something like a business might be looked upon. But for anyone who is a female entrepreneur, I mean, look, I am a female entrepreneur, and I'm making money with copywriting, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm successful with it. So you can definitely do it. Like, you can do it, and it's not like it may seem weird that there's, oh my god, there's a girl doing business, but actually I realize there's a lot of girls doing business and copywriting. It's not weird. It's not weird. It's definitely like, you should definitely get into copywriting no matter what gender you are, really.
Well, the last question, what's the best quote you have heard or read?
The best quote. Ooh. I think I would have to pick the quote that has really like proven itself time and time again for me. There is two quotes. So you probably, maybe you have heard of this quote before, but I don't think anyone really takes quotes seriously, and these two have proved time and time again. And the first quote is, it's always hard until it's easy. And as you said, like with swimming, it's hard in the beginning. You don't know how to swim. You don't know how to ride a bike when you first ride it. When I first learned how to play the guitar, it was really hard. When I first learned how to do art and play the drums, it was very hard. Same thing with copywriting. It's very, very hard. But when you do it enough, it becomes easy. It's like going through a really tight space. It feels really like, oh my god, this is really tight. This feels really weird. And then as soon as you go through it more, it becomes more like, oh, well, this is easy. And I remember when I first learned the guitar, I use this analogy as an example, but I really didn't know how to play the guitar, and it was really hard in the beginning. But the more I played, the more I pushed through that, it became easy. So that's one quote. The second quote is, you've all probably heard this, may not have taken it seriously, but it's, the magic you are looking for is in the work you are avoiding.
Yeah.
And that is so powerful, because when in the beginning, as I said, I avoided copy for so long, and I didn't write because, I thought, where's the magic? Am I missing something? What's the magic to help me become better at copywriting? But the work you are avoiding is actually the magic itself. And that is, for copywriters, if you're avoiding copy, the magic is actually writing copy. So those two quotes, the best quotes I live by, all of them two. Really good.
Well, any last thing you want to say to everyone?
Last thing I would say to everyone watching this, if you're a beginner copywriter or whatever, if you're still learning copywriting or you've been in the game for a while, you have to write copy if you want to get really good. Have to write copy. Just remember, resonate with your audience. Another thing as well is understand copywriting is not just about words, it's what you're trying to communicate. The fourth thing, I don't know if I said four, I don't know, but have a personal brand. Have a personal brand. It will pay off, and you'll have a higher chance of success of getting clients with having a personal brand, with content. And yeah, it's always hard until it's easy. That's it. That's what I would say.
Well, Alicia Joseph, this was a very good conversation, and thank you for coming and speaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It was good talking to you as well, Mo. Yeah, it was good.